You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org. Are you in the entertainment industry? If you answered yes and you want to promote yourself, your passion, and profession, check out Creative Independent Artist magazines at CIAartists.com. Endorsed by Kids Talk Foundation worldwide.
Welcome to the Ninon Speaks Internet TV show. Ninon is an international entrepreneur and philanthropist who's become an influential and positive role model for thousands of people all over the world. Drawing on a rich tapestry of experience from her adventures both in front of and behind the camera, Ninon captivates, entertains, and inspires audiences from all walks of life. Her motto is, "Nothing happens without you." Now, here's your host, Ninon de Verde Rosa.
Well, what an introduction that is. Yes, I am Ninon de Verde Rosa. And as I always say, we have the most incredible guests. And today we have an incredible guest. He's got so much going on. I've got papers all over the place all about him and what he's done. But first, I want to give out a couple of things out there. I want to actually thank Living Consciously. It is a TV show that I'm actually part of. The producer is Steve Toth. And I just got an award from the Denver Open Media for doing media, actually, and it's for being on the show and for doing what I was supposed to do with writing, I guess, all sorts of blogs and different things I was doing. But for my efforts and everything, I was given an award, which is called the Media Award, but without Living Consciously, I would not have got that. So, Steve Toth, thank you, and Living Consciously, thank you. And also all the supporters and all our other team workers there, which are quite a few of them, and they made it all possible. And then I have something else to also, I'm bragging today, I have something else to announce that Ninon Speaks actually hit Google front page. Yes, I'm on front page of Google, which is amazing to me. I just didn't think these things would ever happen. But, you know, underneath and behind the scenes, things do happen and people are working and people are helping you on the way. And it's actually with guests like we have today that helps Ninon Speaks get out there and to understand what I'm doing is giving people out there actually a voice in society, a place out there where they can actually promote themselves. And we can find out not only who all the stars are, but just regular people out there that are doing just great things. I'm going to start off with this gentleman we have today. I'm not going to mention his name yet, but he's written something here which I thought was quite lovely. And it says, accept yourself, great balance in your life, share your abundance, possess and forgive heart, ignite your internal engine, which we all should do, strive for excellence, which we all need to do, remember your past, and trust your future. And the gentleman that wrote that is Phil Parker. Phil, welcome to Ninon Speaks. How are you?
I am well, and thanks for having me on your show.
Well, you're amazing. I mean, I have to quote something else out of you. It says, take a lesson from Phil Parker, the guy that married Bonnie Ross Parker. And I think that's amazing because not many people bring their wives into things and sort of, you know, it's usually one's here and one's there. But you and Bonnie are very much together and sort of have this incredible completed life together and also complement each other. And I think that's absolutely remarkable. Phil, how do you do it?
Well, we always say, Bonnie always say, take two for a one-of-a-kind experience.
That's a good one.
Two of us for the price of one. You know, it's all about relationships, Nina, as you well know. I've looked at your history, I've looked at your background, and there's no one second to you when it comes to building relationships.
Well, I just love people. I like you.
Well, you know, I've had over, let's see, in the last 10 years, I've had over 5,000 women in my home. So I guess
I thought you were going to say you have 5,000 women. My goodness, I nearly had a heart attack.
Only Will Chamberlain can claim that.
Okay.
No, but through my wife's business, we've had 30 women a month for the last 10 years here. So I'm pretty much attuned to the female psychic, and that's frankly the way I like it.
And you handle them all very well. Before we go any further, I'd just like to mention that the show has been picked up and we are featured on Stickum. So we do not have any commercials, but we thank Stickum, we thank their audience, and I hope they enjoy those shows. So we're going to make it really, really special for you, Stickum. And anyway, but now we've got a couple of books here that you wrote, and one I think is fabulous is Grandpa Does Grandma. I won't go into that just yet. We can put imagination on that one. And then you've got another book here which is called Kiss Yourself Hello. And that was, when did you write that book?
I wrote that in 1996, I think. It's when I transitioned out of the corporate world into what you would call private life. In other words, I was unemployed. I think they refer today as transition.
Yeah, you're in a transition, a 2-year transition everybody's in. But you were also, weren't you, a naval officer?
I was a naval officer, but that predates probably you and me because you look like a young woman. I went in the Navy in 1962.
Wow.
And got out in about 1966. So you can do the math.
I'm going to do the math, and we'll keep it at that. I'm 39 and holding, so I don't change dates any year. I stay the same every year.
Well, I don't know what you're holding, but I'd like to hold it too.
Well, you can. But this book you wrote, Kiss Yourself Hello, which is, you seem to imply in a lot of stuff you do that you've got to kind of like yourself. You seem to imply that a lot in what you do and how you handle your life.
Well, I think you have to be comfortable with yourself, and it's very difficult, I believe, for people to be comfortable with themselves. What happened to me was, Nina, so you know, I was living in Washington, D.C., a newlywed, and I was hired to turn around a couple of companies in Atlanta. So my new bride and myself, we forego our honeymoon, and we moved to Atlanta. And fast forward 6 months later, I fixed the companies. There was 2 companies involved. I fixed the companies.
Can you mention their names?
No, I can't. I don't even remember what their names were, but they weren't large companies. But the one company was losing about $80,000 a month, and I fixed that. To make a long story short, the owner sold both companies. I basically created my own unemployment. So I came home.
That was interesting because you were working with them, they sold it, and the other person didn't take you on.
That's exactly right. So, things change in a rapid way sometimes, and sometimes we're ready for it, sometimes we're not ready for it. Frankly, I wasn't ready for it. I was a newlywed, and my wife wasn't ready for it either. It's kind of like getting hit in the face by Muhammad Ali. It's like a knockout punch. You lose your self-esteem, you lose your confidence, and then you got.
And you say, why did I do that? What on earth did I do that for? But you were just being kind to somebody.
Well, then you have to come home and tell your wife. And when Bonnie said, "What are you doing at home? It's 3:00 in the afternoon."
Well,
I don't think we're going to get intimate at this particular time, so we need to talk. And that's when I explained to her that they had sold the companies and I was basically unemployed.
So what did you have to do, to convince her that everything, you're a newlywed, you haven't been married long, to convince her that everything's going to be all right and you're going to find other work? Did you know what other work you were going to find?
I did not. And it was a very difficult period for both of us because we love each other. And now I was home all day long and we didn't know what the future was going to hold other than the fact that we're very positive people. And we figured that something good would happen. So I thought my golf game would get better. Which it did not.
Oh, there you go.
It did not because, golf is all in the head, right?
I don't know. I never was a golfer. I'm too vain to play golf because I don't like to be out in the sun and get all wrinkled up. So I'm kind of vain.
Well, I've had several bouts of skin cancer since then, so I'm not much out in the sun either. So what happened was I had to re-examine my life. I had to take a look at my life. I had to say to myself, what's really important here? I was a corporate executive for 38 years, and I thought that wearing Armani suits and fancy shoes, driving a BMW, going to a fancy office, I thought that's what was important in life. And what I found out through that transition was that had little importance, if any. What was really important, and what I began to believe, is family and relationships and connections. And so,
So you had not really had that in your 30 years of being in the corporate. You were always on the fancy cocktail parties and all that stuff. You had not really evolved yourself around a family life.
that's exactly right.
Well, maybe because you weren't in love with the woman you were with, or you weren't even with a woman. I don't know.
we won't even get into that. But I was married. My first marriage was 16 years. It was not a good marriage, to say the least.
No.
But I had moved to Europe, and I spent 5 years in Europe, living in Germany, running a big company over there. And then when I came back to the States is when I reconnected with Bonnie, my wife, who you've met. And then we've taken it from there. But it was a difficult time. I mean, what is a man to do at age 56? You know, they say there's this hidden barrier about age in the corporate world, but I didn't know what I was going to do. I was offered a job as the chief executive officer in Green Bay, Wisconsin, which my son thought would be the greatest job since sliced bread because I could be a cheesehead and be a Green Bay Packer fan.
Is that a good thing? Sounds like a good thing to me, but the place is where you're going to live.
Well, I didn't. So I just took a introspective look at myself, re-examined my life, and decided that I wanted to do other things, that I did not want to go back into the corporate arena.
Corporate world. Now, did you at that time, was your wife working, or was it just she was?
My wife was not working. It was just we were in the beginning throes of the joy of connecting, which is her business, as you know.
Yes, yeah.
So,
So how hard was it? You're a 56-year-old man, because I know right now in this day and age, in the last couple of years, for anybody older trying to get into any reasonable job or anything that they've been doing before, I know it's very, very difficult now. But what was it like then? So that was kind of in the 90s, right?
Yes, and it was difficult then. I think it's more difficult now.
Yeah, it is much difficult, yeah.
But I think the trend may be changing because I'm reading where a lot of these corporations want to hire experienced people. And so they're going back to the well for those people that say in their early 60s, 65. You know, so they don't want to stop working. They're agile. Their minds are acute. They've got great experience. And you don't have to pay them as much money, so why not hire them?
Absolutely, but I agree with the knowledge they have. I mean, a lot of these young people also have knowledge and tremendous knowledge, but they do not have the experience. And I think having the experience of how to treat the public, if you're in a public business, of how to cope with the public, a lot of the younger generation really don't know how to do that. They get irritable with them, they get short with them, and half the time they don't even know what they're talking about because they don't know like you would know.
Well, the younger generation, as you well know, only knows how to connect via their mobile phone or their computer.
Absolutely.
Or their iPad. And we're losing, in my opinion, we are losing the social graces of face-to-face communication. That's going away. And I think that's a sad thing.
Do you think that'll ever come back? Do you think that'll, I mean, you know.
I don't think it's going to come back in our generation. No. Because the technology is advancing at such a rapid rate. And every time you turn around, things are getting smaller and faster. I mean, I go to meetings and people don't even want to, they're on their phones, they're on their iPad, they're on their iPod Touch, whatever the mobile device may be. I was at a networking meeting last night and I was talking to a young man and all of a sudden he pulls out his iPhone and he's texting and doing whatever. Obviously, he had no interest in talking to me.
No, and that I don't mind that because I look at it as the younger generation, and that's what we as older people have actually taught them because we never told them not to do it. We have allowed them as them of growing up. So I kind of let it. I kind of feel that it's a little bit of our fault for not teaching them to communicate and not sort of really helping them. And so they've got into the rut of they go to school and all they do, I mean, they got kids in the same class that they talk to each other all the time. And the teacher, and they hide the phone quickly so the teacher doesn't see and nobody corrects them and nobody does anything. I have a question here for you. Somebody wants to know, all the radio stations, you are connected to a lot of radio stations all over the country. What is that all about?
I am connected to radio stations?
Yes.
No, I'm not really connected to radio stations. I'm only connected when I get a call to do an interview by someone as yourself.
Oh, you don't really do that?
No, I don't know where that came from. But I'd be curious to know where that came from.
Yeah, I would. Well, actually, came from Real Coaching Radio, which is our station. They wanted to ask him what is he doing with all radio stations all over the country. So obviously you're not doing that, but maybe you will be now since you're going to do this interview, and then you can start doing all the other interviews as well on the radio.
Well, are you going to be my gateway to a huge success as I age in life?
Going to be gateway, put you out there. You and Bonnie get you out there. Why not? Why not? But we do internet TV. As you know, you're in one place, I'm in another place. I'm in my office, you're in your home and your office, and we're able to connect and we're able to put this whole show together on the internet. Is that not amazing? And
it's
then
fantastic.
Stickham pick us up, and now we're even further out there, and we're even doing more out there. So it's quite an amazing what's going on with this day and age and the internet and the communication. So do you like this new way of communicating?
I'm sorry, say that again, Nina, and I didn't get you.
Do you like this new way of communicating?
I would have to give you a yes and no answer. I think for the younger generation, it's a great way to communicate. I think what it's caused in the business world is everybody wants instant gratification for everything. When I was in business, we picked up the phone, we had a conversation, we put the contracts in the mail, people signed them, they came back, and it took maybe 10 days, 3 weeks, sometimes longer. Today, if you're not on top of things, and it's bing, 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 bam, bam, thank you, ma'am, you lose out. And I really, in the long term, don't think that that's a good way to do business. I love to negotiate contracts face-to-face. I'm having a face-to-face conversation with you. I don't want to be talking to you on my iPhone. I think there's no excuse for personable relationships are very, very important, and I think they're going away.
I do sometimes, but then also I do see some of the people that really say, well, I'm just tired of not being able to be face to face and talk to somebody. I really want to talk to somebody. I really want to talk to my friend. And hopefully that'll change a little bit. But if it doesn't, it doesn't. It's no big deal. It doesn't really matter. Give me a little bit about the history of the White House. You've been to the White House quite a few times?
Oh, back in the 60s when Lyndon Johnson was president. I had a good friend. Yeah, I had a good friend that had been his private secretary for years and years when he was in the Congress. And when she moved over with him to the White House, I had access through her to the White House. Spent some time with the president, some other people up on the Hill back in those days. It was a lot different in those days than it is today.
I was going to say, how was it then, and when you see the elections, which you've just gone through, which was, to me, it was a complete disaster of just knocking each other, and they were just fighting with each other, forget the country. It was really, really bad.
They're still doing that. I just was watching CNN before you and I got to speak, and all the Republican congressmen left for home because they have nothing to do. And I'm thinking, the whole country's going to heck in a handbasket, and you're going home.
I know. Well, they're going home. But they're going home for Christmas. I mean, they're never mind. I know what's going to happen with all these taxes and the cliff and all this stuff. But it's Now, let's get back to you of what you're doing now. Now, you do a lot of conventions. Do you do a lot of speaking? What are you doing now?
Well, when I left the corporate world, and I spent a lot of time honing my professional speaking skills. I was a member at the time of the National Speakers Association, the International Federation of Speakers, and so forth. I took a lot of classes. I took drama classes. I took comedy classes. I did some stand-up at a local comedy club here. I took storytelling theater so I could hone my craft so that when I got on stage for an hour and a half, I looked like I knew somewhat what I was talking about.
And you could throw in a couple of jokes there. We've got to hold on one other time. The show, we're now being featured on Blog TV as well. So we're now on Blog TV. So thank you to Blog TV for putting us on, and to all their audience and to everybody out there. So we're also, I believe, we're also on your website as well, Phil. So we're actually, I think we're all over the place. We're just everywhere. But thank you, Blog TV, for bringing us onto your front page. But I think a lot of things have come across my desk about the people that go out and do these talks and the things they're sort of the conventions and things, that to have a lot of comedy, to know the comedy, to start out with jokes and things. Do you like that? Do you think that's a good idea?
I am kind of one of these guys that after 73 years have a lot of life's experiences, and I don't usually think of something until someone says something to me, and that triggers a response for me. Sometimes it's serious, sometimes it's not so serious. I don't think I'm a comedian, but I do I relate well to my audiences when I'm on stage.
You pick up then. That means you pick up. You
pick up.
actually listen. You listen very clearly of what's going on and what's happening. You pick something up.
Listening is a skill that we're losing quickly in this day and age.
Yeah, well, that's true too. But sometimes I don't listen.
You learn a lot more from listening than you do from talking.
Well, you know my favorite saying on that one is, we got 2 eyes, we got 2 ears, and guess what? We got 1 mouth.
No,
so
I'm with
talk
you.
less and listen more.
No, I'm with you. I mean, I listen. I do a lot of mentoring in my spare time, men, women, mostly men and women, not so much with the kids anymore. But I just really say I can have an hour session and say very little. And by the time I'm done, I have great insight into what the situation is.
That's interesting that you're mentoring. What are you finding, or what you're looking at? What do people want to find out, or what do they don't know, or what is their predicament in this day and age? What is the?
Yeah, a lot of people are in transition and they're trying to figure out what their next career move is going to be. That's the one issue. The bigger issue is change. I mean, change is inevitable.
Yes.
And you can either accept it or don't accept it, but it's going to happen regardless of what you do.
And do you think people are prepared to change?
No, I don't think they're prepared to change. I think we live in comfortable coffins. And as long as we're comfortable and things are going our way, then we don't see any necessity to change. But the whole world is changing. Technology is changing. Employment is changing. The job situation is changing. And we have to be able to adapt and change. And sometimes it's painful.
Yeah. And I think you're absolutely right. People do not want to change at all. They just sort of, and that's why I guess we have so many people with a 9-to-5 job. They've got themselves kind of in this rut. They've got themselves the regular money coming in every week, or every month, whatever. But I think people are very comfortable like that. People get into that comfort zone and to actually, either if they get fired, then they have to change. And those are the people that are probably coming to you to find out where they should go, what they should do, and how they should handle their life. But at the same time, so many people get comfortable in their work.
Well, it's an interesting thing, Nina. A lot of executives today who are retiring or losing their jobs or have lost their jobs, all of a sudden, they have no other interests, okay? Most of these executives, these high-powered guys that you and I both know, yes, have no other interest. Now, they may have a girlfriend on the side, but that's not really another interest. So they have no other. So all of a sudden, their job comes to an end, and they find themselves at home all day long with their wife, and the wife is not used to having her husband home all day long.
So you have 2 people upset now.
You have 2 people upset, each one looking at each other like 2 bulls in a china closet, trying to figure out, well, sweetheart, you need to find something to do. You cannot look over my shoulder all day long. And it's become a real challenge. Fortunately,
is that why you wrote this book, Grandpa Does Grandma? I'm going to find out a little bit about this book. I love the name of it.
Well, Grandpa Does Grandma was written for a different reason. And the short version is, I was at a local Barnes & Noble bookstore getting a cup of coffee. Yeah. And the gal behind the counter, who I have known for years, said to me one day, "Could I ask you a personal question?" I said, "Sure." She said, "Now that you're too old to have sex anymore, what do you do for excitement?" I said, "Excuse me?" I came home, I said to my wife, I said, there's a perception out there that we that are a little older don't enjoy intimacy. She said, when Bonnie said, "What are you going to do about it?" I said, "Well, I'm going to write a book about it." So I wrote the book for 2 reasons. The first reason is to let people know that just because you age does not mean that your relationships end, that intimacy ends, that your sexual activity has to come to an end. And the second reason I wrote the book is to tee off my 4 kids.
Why, were they having the same perception as you were, like dead, and all you did was walk around and had no sex, no nothing?
Don't all children feel that way?
I don't know. I don't have any children to tell me that, so I'm okay.
Right. Most children don't think that their parents have ever had any sex. And I say, well, how did you come here? By the Immaculate Conception? I mean, what happened here? So the book was an offspring of that. And then I did a lot of focus groups with married couples. and a lot of stuff came out during the focus group. So I decided to write the book. Now, when I originally wrote the book, it was written from my point of view, which is the man's point of view, which I will admit is a little bit rough, a little bit hard. But my charming wife said to me, no, 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 no. She said, you have to soften that up a little bit. So each chapter has my viewpoint, and then it has what I call the softer side. And that's more the huggy, kissy, feely kind of thing, okay?
Well, yes, because that's a typical woman. And you see, a woman, we're sort of getting into this romantic thing, but a woman likes the romance. A woman does not want to be pounced on and sort of, have sex. Women don't, I mean, I'm sure there's some women that do like it, but women really like the holding the hand and the little kiss and the little cuddle and sort of go into it slowly, a little glass of wine, put the music on, and they don't really want to rush it. And I think that's gone, personally.
Well, yeah, someone once told me that men only need a place. That's it.
Well, I think I would probably say yes, you're right.
I think the romance is gone out of. I speak to a lot of couples that are my age and in their 50s and 60s, and it just saddens me to think that these people have let romance fly out the door because their perception is, well, I don't have time. I'm too old. My wife doesn't want to be intimate. I don't want to be intimate. And that's really saddens me because I'm 73. My wife is 68 or 69 or 60. I thought I married a younger woman, but and we're still.
She was 40, huh?
She was 40, maybe 45. Your age.
There you go. I love it.
So
if only you knew.
I have a good idea.
No, you don't.
So,
nobody does. But you're right.
We can talk about that offline. But seriously, relationships go on. And the sadness of it is as you get older, and as sometimes you lose a lot of friends, people start to pass away from illness or from whatever the reason is. That's when intimacy and relationships become more and more important, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think I would agree with you. I mean, I have to think when we talk about relationships, I relate obviously back to my mom and dad. And they were married. My mother and father were married for 68 years. They were married for a long time. And I have 3 brothers and a sister. But they sort of remained they were close. They had their arguments and their problems. But they were still quite close, and they were but they never talked about sex and never talked about, and you would never see, because we're from England, so it's rather you can't kiss in front of everybody, but I saw that a little bit, but not as much as it should be, and it's because they get older. They think they're not
Well, I think if you have a partner or boyfriend or girlfriend and you age together, then you have to accept. I talked a little bit earlier about change. Well, just look in the mirror, Nina, and even yourself, who looks beautiful on the TV here, but just look in the mirror. I am sure that you have changed. No different than myself.
Absolutely, I have changed, but I'm very vain, and I have definitely kept myself up. I'm very careful what I eat, and I think it's very important. In fact, this is what I teach people. I have this program where I try to help people, men and women, to maintain and to look good. Just because you're older or you've been married for 40 years doesn't mean to say you have to get fat and ugly and not look good. That has nothing to do with it. I always dress for yourself, feel good, look good. It's amazing how many years it'll take off you.
No, you're absolutely right. Now, I mean, my wife works out every single day, an hour of pool aerobics. I only work out every other day, and my wife will tell you I only go to the gym so I can check out the women. But that's not true. I go there because I have pride in myself, and I have pride in the way I look. And it annoys me when someone says to me, "Oh, did your wife buy that tie for you? Did your wife buy you that suit? Did your wife buy you those shoes?" What makes you think I'm not capable of doing that myself?
Oh, because there's a lot of men out there, Phil, that are not capable, and I have to tell you that. I mean, I'm not married, and I'm in the dating game. And if I could tell you how many times I've had I call them like going out for dinner, or even having coffee, I never want to see them again, ever, ever, ever. They wear sneakers that, I mean, I'll tell you, it's not very good out there. So I get
the picture. I see it all the time. And it saddens me that men don't want. And then the men are quick to blame the women. You know, the men are always, well,
everybody wants to blame.
Everybody wants to blame everybody else.
Yeah, it's always blaming somebody else. So since we're on this sort of this older deal, what would you advise men to do out there to sort of the single men out there that are sort of looking, you know, because we have an awful lot of these dating games now and these .coms and these different things that people can date on, and they're obviously looking for a woman and a man. What is the best thing for a man to do to try to find the woman he wants?
You know, you could call me Dr. Phil, right?
I want to call you Dr. Phil. Wow, you'd be a great Dr. Phil.
You know, I don't know what advice to give to men other than to be yourself, to be funny, to maintain your sense of humor. You know, there's more to life than just, I always say to people, life, I've actually broken down life to its very basic components. And here it is. This is my philosophy on life. I hope your viewers will appreciate it. You need a roof over your head, approximately 2 meals a day, and sex on occasion. And you'll be a happy person.
Well, that's quite simple.
It's pretty simple, right?
That's very simple. That's very easy. Do you think they feel that because I know, I don't think women feel so, well, maybe they both do. I think we all probably feel bad getting older, but it's something we can't avoid. It's something we can try to make ourselves look better if we can, but it's something that we can't really avoid. We're going to get older and older and older, and, you know, we get up there.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. There's nothing wrong in it. Because you know what I always say what it is? It's like you're born and you come up here and then you sort of go across and then you start coming back down again. So it's sort of this sort of pyramid where you come up and you build yourself up and everything else, and you get to where you need to get. And then all of a sudden, now you start going down, you know. And it's not really going down. It's just the age of life. It's just living life, of how life is and how you live. And I think a lot of older people can't accept it.
Well, life is for the living. And you have to take what life gives you. I read a quote one time that said, if you took all the men in the world and who believed in romance, put them in a phone booth, you'd still have room to dance. What does that say? Do you want me to repeat that? It's pretty interesting. If you took all the men in the world who believed in romance and put them in a phone booth, you'd still have room to dance. And that's the problem. Romance has gone away. Everybody is interested in, well, she doesn't look good, he doesn't look good, or I just want to, can we go home? I want to have sex tonight, tomorrow night, whatever. That's not what life's about.
No. I got a couple of questions going on here. One of them is, what do you think of this 12-12-12 coming up? I don't know if you know much about it, but there's this.
Well, that's the Mayan calendar. The world's going to come to an end in 12-12-12?
Well, it's not going to come to an end, but it's going to be, things are going to change.
Well, you know what? Things are changing every day. I don't think there's going to be any major changes on 12-12-12. Just another day on the calendar. And the only changes that will take place will be the changes that you make or allow in your life.
Very good answer, because actually that's what it is. And I think if people recognize, because they talk about all these crystals and all this stuff going on and everything else, and I think that what's going to happen is how you feel, how you're going to change, and how you want your life, and what you're going to do.
Well, here's a simple tip. I do this every single morning.
Okay.
I open the front door to my house. I walk outside. Sometimes I'm dressed, sometimes I'm not dressed. And I say, what am I going to discover today?
Wait a second. I hope this is the back door, not the front door.
No, it's the front door. I usually have clothes on.
Oh, okay.
but the issue is, what am I going to discover today? Because every day is a new day, and every day, if you open your eyes and open your ears and keep your mouth shut, you will discover something new, either about yourself or about somebody else or whatever that may be. So my word for 2013 is discover. What will I discover today?
That's funny you should say you open the door. You know, I do every morning. I have a French door that actually goes into my backyard right by the pool. And every morning, whether it's cold, whatever it is, I don't care. I open that door and I let that air in, whether it's hot or whatever it is. But I love that fresh air coming in. It seems to, for me, it seems to open up my whole day. So I think, you know, bringing in the outside and bringing it in. Another question here for you. Why are women more open and spirituality is more, they're more conscious of that and more conscious of what's going on than men?
Well, that's an interesting question, and I would agree with that, that women are generally more open to spirituality. And that's because men, in my opinion, men are not in touch with their real self. Most men are putting on some kind of a facade who they would like the world to see. Okay? No different than when I was in the corporate arena, okay? Fancy clothes, fancy cars, fancy this, fancy that. So women are more in tune with themselves, their inner being. Now, I personally am a very spiritual person. I meditate every day. And I've done that for years, ever since I came out of the service. But most men are only interested in material things, or they don't see the world as a grandiose place to live. And so I think they're not in touch with their own. If you can't be in touch with yourself in a realistic way, then it's very difficult to be in touch with your spiritual world in a very realistic way.
Well, that's true too. So what you're saying is men are more interested in the material things, whereas women are not. And I would imagine the reason why women are more spiritual and more sort of conscious is because they're actually the breeders. They carry the child, they have the child, and they can hear their child in a million children. They know the cry of their own child, and they have this sort of inborn thing of theirs. And I think that's because of they are the children. They bear the children.
Well, I think the women are the nurturers in our society. Although I must say, from what I read, there are more and more stay-at-home dads taking care of children, particularly now when a lot of these men are losing their jobs and their wives are working. They're staying at home and they're taking care of the kids. And maybe that's a real revelation for those men. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is a good thing. But how do you think men feel? You just said that men, they love the clothes, they love the stuff, they love the cars, they love all the material things. And now all of a sudden they're staying home looking after a baby. How do they mentally feel with that? I mean, their wife is out working. She's bringing the money in.
Well, when I lost my job, I wasn't bringing any money in, and my wife was bringing in all the money, or it was coming from her estate or whatever. And we had to deal with it, because if you're in a relationship, then it's a relationship between two people. It's not me for you and you for me. Here's the key. My wife and I we depend on each other. We got our backs, right? We depend on each other. However, we are not dependent on each other. We depend on each other, but we're not dependent on each other.
Yeah.
Big difference. Big difference. And I think some of these men that are staying home with their children are beginning to awaken to the fact, first of all, what a difficult job it is to stay home with children all day long and not have adult interaction, which most men take for granted. And I think it's opening up a lot of eyes of these men. You have to be comfortable in your own skin. Most men, listen, I was no different than most men. Football, sports, sex, and I'm not sure what else. I don't drink, so I can't say sports, sex, and beer. But I would say sports, sex, and whatever turned me on at the moment. And that seems to be the way most men grow up in our society.
What would, if you had an idea, or if you thought, what would you think would be good for men to kind of change and to try to get a different perspective of life out there? What could they do to make it more interesting for themselves, rather than the football and the drinking? And what can they actually do?
Well, they can hang out with more women.
Well, they do that anyway.
No. I don't mean, looking for dates or looking for love. I mean, I go to my wife's networking affairs, and they're mostly women, and you get to talk to these women, and you begin to understand the difference in the psychics. Because let's be honest, I mean, if you're a man, you can only change yourself. Yeah. I don't care how many women you have, how many beers you have, how many football games you watch. That's not what's important in life. What's important in life is knowing who you are. And I'm sad to say that most men, in my opinion, don't know who they are, and they're not comfortable in their own skin. I was at a tap dancing class this afternoon. I take tap in my spare time, and I'm the only man in the class.
When I first introduced you, I said you were different, but I didn't realize you were that different, and you're out there. But then you look as if that's what you would try anything. You look as if you'd actually go for something that you haven't done and you'd like to have that excitement.
Well, isn't life is a learning experience? It should be a learning experience, and I just love to learn. So I've learned photography. I've taught myself how to play the drums. I take tap dancing lessons. I chase my wife around the house in the middle of the day.
Do you catch her?
Sometimes I do. It just depends on her mood whether I catch her.
Depends whether she's going to allow you to catch her or not. That's a woman for you.
At my age, it depends on how fast she's moving.
Do you think women actually have a more advantage out there in the world or men? Or do you think they're pretty equal?
Well, I have an interesting philosophy about that, Nina, and we don't have time to go into it. I think that...
Yes, we do. I'm not going anywhere.
Listen, I think the perception is that it's a man's world.
Well, that's what men think.
Right. I don't have that perception. I know it's a woman's world. I know where the power lies. I know women control the men. Let's be honest. Women have what men want. That's a very controlling thing, you know. Now, I had a woman tell me one time, I can say this on the air because it's not too bad. I had a woman tell me that the only thing men are good for is the handy gadget.
Yeah, and to bring the money in, to pay the bills. I mean,
come on, women are capable of earning.
Well, that's the difference now, and that's why you've got an awful lot of the younger generation, and I have to probably say more so on the men's side, that the men don't want to get married, because I know an awful lot of women saying, well, I don't want to get married till I'm older. Well, I happen to know that that's not really what women want. It's just that men don't want to get married, and they can't find a guy to marry.
I don't think it's men that they don't want to marry. I think the men are basically afraid of commitment.
Well, it is, but they see what happened to their father or their mother that has gone into a second marriage, and the money's gone, and they've got money for this family and then money for this family. I don't think they want, and now you're right, they don't want the responsibility.
Well, you know, that's what life's about. It's about responsibility. Responsibility for yourself, responsibility for others. You have to be a responsible citizen in order for anything to happen in this world and in this country. Good example of that, you got a Congress up there that's not too responsible for anything. They're only responsible for their own well-being or getting reelected, and that's not what public service was designed to do.
Not at all. Well, we're such a split country now, and this is very sad, because you've really got it. I saw it more so in this particular election of how split we really are as of who we are on the side we're on. And I even see with arguments, even I've got a couple of girlfriends that they like this side, and I really don't mind that, because I deal with people, so I really not on any side. I just want on the side where they're going to make America great. That's all. I want the right thing done. I really don't mind who it is.
Well, I think I recently wrote a blog about where is America the Beautiful. There is no America the Beautiful, okay? We have many Americas today. You have white America, black America, Hispanic America. You know, you got gay America, and it goes on and on and on. Until we bring all those factions together in some kind of a united way, we are going off in a splintered situation, which is not good for the country, and it's not good for the citizens of this great country.
No, it's not. It's not. It's very tough. You know, on the last 15 minutes of my show lately, what I've been doing is I've been critiquing my guests. And I
hope you're critiquing me.
And I critique.
That's okay.
Oh, yes, I'm definitely going to critique you, because
I love to be critiqued by attractive women. I don't have a problem with that.
Well, the reason I like to do it is because my philosophy is right now is that we're doing an awful lot of internet now. We're doing a lot of radio. We're doing a lot of media out there, but a lot of it is actually on the internet. And I think people have got the conception of when they get onto Skype, because that's the main thing where we all get onto to be seen out there, is that you don't really see the person. I don't think people have realized that when you go onto Skype, it's just like a movie. It's just like a television set. It's no different. But I don't think people are realizing that. So they forget, you know, now how you're dressed, I cannot critique that at all, because you are really, really good. Really good. Your sound is excellent. You look great. Your lighting, you didn't check your lighting when you came on, obviously. because remember Steve said that you had some lighting come over your head.
Yeah.
So all these things are very, very important. And then also your background when you came on. Did you really check all this out? Because you are kind of a little bit of a tech guy, aren't you? You know, with sets and things.
No, I'm not too techy, but I'm well aware of, I'm always aware of my surroundings. And unfortunately, when you did my wife's interview, we didn't have a chance to prepare for that. If you look at my background, basically I'm sitting in front of my desk, or you don't see what you saw in the last interview, you know.
But let me ask you, do you have any awards and do you have stuff that you're proud of? Because your backing at the moment, your backing is nice, but it looks like you're in your kitchen.
I have no stuff that I'm proud of. I am not attached to any stuff. Never have been, never will. I'm not attached to anything that happened 1 minute ago. There is nothing as far away as 1 minute ago.
Really?
Right or wrong? Right? And I've had that philosophy all my life.
Really? So
yes.
You're not attached to, or not attached
I threw
to
out all my trophies. I threw them all out. I gave them away. I don't keep anything. I'm only attached. No, I don't. And if in my first book, Kiss Yourself Hello, From a Life of Business to the Business of Life, I talk about that, I think, in one of the chapters, because that book was written about transition. A lot of people are transitioning today. Yeah. They don't know what to do with their lives, and that's one of the reasons I wrote that book, Kiss Yourself Hello.
Talking about books, I don't see any of your books around you. Where are your books?
Well, my books are back here.
Oh, there's a book. Oh, let's see what
about that.
But that I see. So you do see that's that. Now, if you'd have a big one of those in the back, I don't know if you can have a poster put up, but that would be great. So if you get another interview, try to get your book in a place where you can actually see it and read it.
Okay. Thank you for saying that, because I do have a huge poster that I use when I do book signings. It's on an easel. I should have had that here. That would be good.
Yeah, you should have had that behind you somewhere. Put it, but check it. You know, there's a place on your. I think if you go onto your computer, you go into a place where I forget what it is, but anyway, you can go to your computer. Actually, you can check your whole self out on the computer to see what you look like when you turn on.
Oh yeah, I can just Skype myself.
Yes, Skype yourself and see what you. Yeah, there you go, and see what you look like. And see,
I'm impressed. I'm impressed by your background, Nina. I see all those little trophies up there. Look like Academy Awards, Emmys. I'm not sure what they are, and all your diplomas. I used to have all. I used to have all that stuff.
Now,
threw it all out.
Beautiful. Oh, you see why? Because you know, somebody said to me, you know, you've got all these trophies up, and I said, well, yes, and I said I'm proud of them, and they said, well, why? And I said, well, that's kind of my work, and this is what I've done, and I'm very happy with what I've done and what I've given. I've been given an award for something I've done out there. So I've given to somebody, and for that, somebody recognized it. I didn't ask for the award, but I was recognized and they gave it to me. So it makes me feel good that I actually did something for somebody out there, and I actually helped them, but somebody recognized it. So I think it's very important.
Well, I guess I'll have to spend the next 25 years trying to figure out how to win some more awards, I guess.
Yeah, you will. You're going to have to go and find some more. You have to phone up all those people and ask them to resend them to you. But it would be lovely if you had some shelves in the back there and you put some of your books up there. That would be really good. Or put your poster up there.
Well, you know, let's see what I got. I have this poster here. Can you see this?
See, that would be fabulous. Oh, my goodness. I love that. Look at this.
That'd be fabulous.
This is beautiful. So don't be, so I can feel from you that you are a man that is definitely out there, and you are not afraid of being out there. Look at this.
How's that?
Covers. You see? Now, if we'd had this all around you, wouldn't that be beautiful?
Well, I guess we'll have to do this again.
Yeah, we'll have. I gotta have you back on again, and we're gonna have it completely dressed up. We're gonna have both of you have both of you on at one time. There you go.
You know, let me just say, as I said, I'm not attached to anything. Anything 1 minute ago doesn't bother me. I only am attached to my wife. That's it in a nutshell.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever thought of having your own show? Like no,
I've never. I don't know what it would take to set that up. I really haven't given it a big thought. I have a teleprompter at the house here. I do 1080p high definition video with my camera, green screen and all that. I have all that stuff here.
Well, let me tell you something. It's exactly what you're doing right now. You don't have to do anything any different. Um, like the company I use, which is Real Coaching Radio, TV,
Right.
and they kind of put it all together for me. Obviously, I have to pay them, but they put it all together for me. And they actually Skype me in, and then they Skype you in. But we've got this lovely show, and then we put it out to the media out there. And I mean, you don't have to do it every week. It could be once a month. It could be whenever. And then Bonnie could also do it. You know, be on the same sort of. She could be on another program every other week. But I think that you have so much knowledge to give out there. And you've also got all these women. You've got loads of women that you could interview, loads of them.
Well, that is true. I have a lot of women in my life. Only one that really matters, but I do have a lot of women in my life. And now I have you in my life, and I'm very fortunate. I feel very fortunate for that.
Well, I'm fortunate to have you in my life too, because I find this very exciting. And I just see that, you know, I think some people think that they would love to do this, and they just seem to think it's too hard, and it's not. It's very simple. I do 3 shows a week, 3 different shows. I have this show, which is Ninon Speaks, Media Image, and then I have another show I did last night. Last night I did a show on Maxed Out Money Hour, and that's all about real estate and money and financial. And then the other show on Saturdays I do, which is Living Consciously. So they're all done out of my office. They're all done at home. I don't go anywhere, which is, you know, I just set up I set this all up back behind me.
No, I know you have, and I also think you probably have some lights in your office there that makes it a little bit brighter.
Yeah, but your light is just the same as mine. You look great. You look absolutely great with your lighting. And I think that this might be something you might like to sort of, you know, you might like to do. I don't know, try it 1 or 2 times, you know, see if you like it or not. But
So
I think you
have to pay you. Do I have to pay you to be my mentor?
No. No, I'm giving you a free session.
Thank you.
That's what I do. But you can call me anytime.
I don't ever remember getting anything free from a woman.
You mean somewhere down the line you had to pay something?
There's always a price to pay.
Really?
Is that not true? Is that not true?
No, and the reason I say no is because I come from Europe, and we really truly think very different there. We think differently, totally, especially I would say more of Europe than England. In England, we have a way with society. This family meets this family, and we all kind of keep together, and we marry into the families. America doesn't have that much, but they still have.
I spent a lot of time in England, Nina. So I was living in Germany, but I spent a lot of time in England.
How did you like England? What was the difference? What did you think different?
You're breaking up on me. I didn't hear that last question.
What is different between the American women and the English women?
Oh, we have to do another show for that. What if you ask me what is different between the European women and the American women? That I can answer.
Okay.
And the answer to that is the European women, I think, are more open and are more in touch with themselves and their sexuality than the American women. That's just a off the cuff opinion.
Yeah. Do you think they're more comfortable in their own skin as being a woman than women are here?
I think so. I don't think they find themselves putting on as many airs as the American women do. I don't think they're into fashion as much. Now, don't misunderstand me. I know the European women, if you're in Paris and you're in some of the big cities, but by and large, the average European woman is not into fashion. You know, Dolce & Gabbana and Versace bags and all. I don't think they're into that.
No, if they can afford it, yes, they will buy it. But if they can't, they don't really worry about that. But I find that the difference I see is that the European women have more of a romance going on. You know, they're not so much of jumping into bed and the sex immediately. That would never happen with a European woman. And a man wouldn't expect it either. It's something you have this romance that you have for a few months before.
Yeah, well, it's called education. You see, the women have to educate the men for the women to get what they want.
Yeah, we're not gonna give our bodies away and our stuff away.
Oh, I hope not.
No. But America is a little different. I always think that the American women feel they're under pressure. of trying to keep the man, or they want the man or whatever, and then they feel they have to go to bed with them and have sex.
You know what? The American women are too hung up on makeup and lipstick and eyeshadow and hose and girdles and all this stuff. Come on. I say let it all hang out. Let me see what you got. I'll make my own decision.
Let me ask you a question. How did you meet your wife?
I've known my wife for almost 45 years. We were just married to other people. And when I came back from Europe, I had gotten divorced. And when I came back from Europe, I found out that she was divorced. And I called her up, asked her out to lunch, took her to dinner. We've been together ever since.
That's amazing. So it was kind of love at first sight, but something got in the way.
Actually, I was trying to get in her. Are we still on the air?
Yes, of course we are. You're trying to get in our knickers, okay?
No. I wasn't going to say that.
Actually, I said it, don't worry.
Okay, well, but she didn't get the message then. But when she got divorced, and I know her husband well, and she's still good friends with her former husband, as am I. But it just worked out. I said, life takes a strange turn every now and then, and things change. And it's a good example of change. She was raising her children with a husband. I was raising my children with a wife. The marriages didn't work out. We hooked back up again. And we had a lot of history together. I knew her parents. I knew her children as she did mine. And it worked out.
That kind of work. Did the children work out okay?
The children worked out okay. I'd be fibbing to you if I told you they were really close. They all have their own lives. I mean, they're in their 40s, late 30s, so they're married. They have their own lives, but they get along okay.
Yeah.
But Bonnie and I have a great relationship, and it's based on 45 years of history. And I think I'm here to tell you that sometimes it works out better the second time around.
Absolutely. How's your website coming on? Do you have a good website, or is your website okay? Or like this program, are you going to put this program onto your website?
Well, yeah, I'll talk to you about that. I'll call Steve or Nan or somebody to figure out how to do that.
Yeah, I think, they'll help. Yeah, Steve, I think, is the one you need to talk to about that. And also, let's talk a little bit about your speaking engagements. What engagements do you like, and what are you most motivated at when you go out there and you do your engagements?
When I do my talk, it's always more about the audience than it is about me. So whatever that audience may be, I try to gear my talks. I talk a lot about. I'm not speaking. Let's be honest. I'm not speaking as much as I used to. 73 years old, I don't seem to be getting the gigs as much like younger people. But when I do speak, I talk a lot about embracing change in a changing world. And that deals with, I have a formula for life. And I'll give it to you quick. It's R plus C over T times A squared. Risk plus change over time times action. So if you manage your risks in life well, and you adapt to change well, the R and the C, over time, we live in an instant gratification society, but we shouldn't. Yeah. Instant gratification didn't do much for anybody that I know about. So if you challenge, if you take your risk and you look at change over time, and the key word here is action. You have got to action. No one is going to make your life better. Unless
you have to do the action. On that, we've got to close the show, but before I close the show, what is your website? How can people reach you?
They can reach me at my website, www.philparker.com, or they can www.grandpadoesgrandma.com, and everything's on the websites.
So everything's on the website. Well, Phil, you have been an amazing guest, a lot of knowledge, especially for the older generation, of not to give up, to keep moving forward, and just change yourself. Change it. If it's not working, change it.
You know this as well as I do. We're not getting older. We're simply getting better.
That's right. I love it. See, the positive side of Phil Parker. Phil Parker is one of the most positive people I've ever met. He's amazing. Just getting better. That's all we are. We're not getting older. We're getting better. On that, thank you so much, Phil. Thank you, everybody out there. Thank you, Stickham. Thank you, Blog TV. Thank you, all of you out there. Thank you, Steve Toth and Real Coaching Radio TV Network. And we will see you next week with Ninon Speaks. Take care. Say hello to Bonnie for me.
I will. Thank you, Ninon.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Watch the Maxed Out Money Hour Internet TV show program All About Money with your hosts Ninon and Coach Steve every Tuesday evening at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central at realcoachingradio.net.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Kids Talk Foundation, a global nonprofit organization providing youth advocacy, television programming, and training services in the United States, along with comprehensive medical and educational services for the developing world, most recently in Kenya, Africa, where Kids Talk Foundation provides a feeding program, medical care, and educational services to over 1,300 young people each day. Please help our youth and place your donation. Go to www.kidstalk.org.
You're listening to Real Coaching Radio TV, building a positive network.